I am an absolute idiot, or at least I was almost an absolute idiot this past Saturday night. Now, I told you on the last podcast that my next gig was going to be 2 days after, Saturday night in Droylsden, and they'd emailed me a couple of days earlier than that to tell me that because of the football, which it was Man City versus Newcastle Saturday night that was going to be on at the same time as the gig, the venue wanted to postpone because obviously they get a lot of trading during those games, so they'd be losing out those punters and, you know, getting comedy punters in at the same time. So you want to maximise your minutes in terms of who's coming in to your venue, right? So on a night where there's going to be lots of people coming in anyway, you don't want to clash it with a big event, and comedy for them is a big event. So they'd done that. They'd emailed me about it, and I said, yeah, fine. Somehow I'd completely forgotten about it. In my tired haze, I must have read it when I wasn't paying enough attention. Maybe I was like in the middle of doing something else. Maybe I was a little bit too tired. But either way, Saturday, I've left home. I've gone to Bolton train station. I've bought my ticket. I've gone to the platform. I've waited for 15 minutes. Just as I can hear the train rolling in, something in the back of my mind was like, Adam, check your emails. And I never do this. I never check my emails before a gig, because why would you? We've both confirmed earlier in the week. Surely I've read it properly, but no, something told me, Adam, go on and check it. I checked it. I read that it's been delayed till Friday, and I was like, oh, crap. Now, imagine if, like, by the time I'm reading this email, the train has pulled up and the doors are starting to open. Imagine if I'd like just got on that train and I just started to read it as it had set off. I'd be halfway to Manchester. I'd be so fuming with myself that I'd wasted I'd wasted about 45 minutes anyway, going to the train station, sitting around waiting for the train, walking back. I'd wasted all that time. But at least I didn't go all the way to Droylsden and make a real fool out of myself. Can you imagine that? I get all the way there, I open the pub doors, I'm looking around, everyone's watching the football. I go to the bloke behind the bar, I go, excuse me, mate, where's the comedy? Is there another room? And he's like, no comedy tonight, mate. That's not till Friday. And I'd be like, what? I'm sure it was tonight. And he'd be like, no, we rearranged it. You should have had an email. And then I'd open my emails and I'd read it in front of him and I'd be like, yep, I have had an email and I've responded to it. So I'm glad I didn't get all the way there, because that would have been really embarrassing. I would have legitimately been embarrassed. So I say all that to say this: if you want to come and see me, I'll be in Droylsden this Friday night, which is Friday the 13th. Tickets, go to your search engine that you use, your AI, whatever, and type in Gag and Bone Man Comedy. You can find my tickets for that show on there. Yeah, okay, that's where we're going to be on Friday of this week. However, that's not my next gig. My next gig is going to be on Thursday, which is tonight, where if you're watching this on the day that it's released, at 8 p.m. I'm going to be doing La Fienda Comedy Club. Now, La Fienda was a new comedy night coming out of lockdown, and essentially it was a new material night for kind of any level of comedian, and that's how it started out. And it's four lads at the time: Jack Kelly, James, Kieran, and Ryan Kenny. They all teamed up to kind of put this on together and go, do you know what? How about after COVID? It's, you know, there's not much in terms of gig wise. Some things have gone away. There was a crush as well after COVID where, like, it felt like everyone had been relegated a little bit. So, for example, comedians who were doing the clubs before lockdown, they needed more places to do comedy. And because, a lot of places stopped doing comedy because they were like, right, we put comedy on because it can put 50 people in our small pub on a Thursday night. So then we can pay the acts X amount of money because we're going to get an extra 50 people, because Thursday nights are usually quiet in the pub, for example. However, after COVID and lockdown, it goes, well, actually, you can fit 50 people in, but there's restrictions, so you can only actually fit 15, 20 people in. Well, now the venues are going, well, if I can only fit 15, 20 people in, I'm going to get those people coming out anyway, because they're so eager to get out because it's been lockdown and they just want to get out of their houses. But on top of that, if I sell tickets to 20 people maximum, the fees I can give is less than half of what I could have give before if I was selling tickets to 50 people. So then all of a sudden, all these places that were running comedy nights, they start running comedy nights. So all these pros who were getting paid gigs multiple nights a week, all of a sudden they lost multiple nights a week worth of work of these shows that weren't coming back. Maybe they were going to be able to go close one, and all of a sudden that's money out of their pocket. And not just money out of their pocket, it's also they've been sat at home for ages writing all this material. The clubs have finally opened up. They want to give the clubs their best material, so they need somewhere to try the new material. So then we had pro comedians coming to the open mics, and this is when I was hitting all the open mics and as often as I possibly could. And you would never see a proper pro comedian there. And I remember there was nights where you'd see multiple pro comedians on a lineup, and people who've got substantial followings on social media now, people with like, I'm talking 6-figure followings on social media. You'd see them turning up and you'd be like, what is going on here? Like, it's like seeing like a fish in the, like riding a bicycle through the forest. Like, I didn't know you could do that, mate. What are you doing here? You should be in the big ocean, swimming around, having a right good time. But that was a squeeze that happened after lockdown. But anyway, La Fienda started then. And it's kind of, they were so successful with it, and they ran such a good night because they ran it properly and how it should be ran, that it turned into a very popular night for the audience members. So audience used to always go there. On top of that, all of a sudden you've now got all these pro comedians who started like going back to these kind of nights when they opened post-COVID. Now they always want to go to these shows because now La Fienda might give them, a smaller fee to come and do new material at night. They're buzzing now, getting paid new material to go and do this. So La Fienda itself became like a really successful new material night, and it's basically what it is. It's a new material night, but it's a successful one. So it's what it's turned into is like, if you're a new comedian, you go there and you do your best minutes. And if you're an established comedian, you go there and do like new material. You chuck in 1 or 2 established jokes. Now me, I'm floating in between these two worlds. I'm somewhere in the middle where, like, if I'm on a good month, I'm bubbling up to the top and I'm rising with the cream. But then sometimes you have a bad month and then you're floating back down again. So you need to. So I'm going to do a bit of a mix. I say all that to say that I'm going to be doing a bit of a mix tomorrow. And then, so that starts at 8 o'clock, that show. Now, typically, stand-up comedy shows, they might start 5-10 minutes late because it requires all the audience to be seated beforehand. So if people are at the bar, you don't want them coming in during the start. You ideally want everyone there beforehand. So if there's a crush at the bar in the build-up to the show, they're like, listen, right, okay, we'll serve everyone as quickly as possible. We'll start the show 5-10 minutes late, but we'll finish at the same time. But we just want to get everyone a chance to get the drinks and get seated. That's how it would start. So ideally, it will start at 8 o'clock tomorrow. I'm on first, so I'm going to get to go on. I'll do 10, 15 minutes. I don't know what they want me to do, but either way, I'll do mid-time. Host will do about 10-15 minutes. So I should be off stage for about 8:30. Now, after that, I'm going to go to Creatures Comedy Club. They've got a show starting at 8:30. Now, this is perfect because I can double. I can open one show, then I can go and do the other show. Hopefully, I can get a middle-y kind of slot so I'm not there all night. But at the same time, because I'm opening somewhere else, I don't mind if I get there and they go, well, everyone else has got here earlier than you. And they're all asking, oh, can we go early? So you're going last or you're going penultimate, whatever. Then that's what it is. I've got to go later on in the show if that's the case. But ideally somewhere in the middle. But that's 2 gigs. I may be able to do 3 because there's also a 7 o'clock show at Creatures. So in theory, I could go, do an open at the early show or even a bit in the middle, get to La Fienda for 8, which is probably about 15-20 minutes walk away, and then get back to Creatures and triple it up and get 3 gigs in one night. Now, I've not had 3 gigs in one night for months now, especially not all year. And as you can tell, when I talk about my gigs all the time on here, ideally I like to do 4 a month. 4 a month. 4 a week I like to do with it. But at the moment, I'm not doing that. I'm doing like 1 or 2 a week. Obviously, this week I've got 3. But if I can get 3 in on Thursday night, that'd be 4, and I'd be kind of hitting my target in that one day. And I'll be buzzing with that. And because it's a weird biting point in stand-up comedy because you do need to, the more that you do it, the better you will get at it. But it is also a weird thing where, like, you need that as many gigs as possible to be a realistic reflection of what an actual gig is like, a pro gig is like. So it's a little bit hard because sometimes you go to open mics and you'll do bits. And I started to get to the point where I was going to open mics knowing that my material wasn't going to do very well at the open mics, but it would go well on the pro shows, which sounds like backwards, doesn't it? If you'd think that obviously the open mics is like the entry level thing and that's where anyone can go. So surely it will do better there. And then when you go to the pro level, it will get harder. But it actually goes the other way around with some jokes, because what I kind of find with the open mics is that there's this thing where it's all comedians, so they're all trying to make each other laugh. So sometimes it's in jokes, sometimes it's callbacks to stuff, sometimes it's certain references that it's kind of buzzy between everyone and not really something that's just going to translate very well if you're in Burnley on a Friday night. They don't have the same sensibilities of what's in the Northern Quarter at an open mic. They've got completely different references. They don't understand all the internet speak, like calling someone a cook. You go to Burnley and call someone a cook, they go, I'm not a chef, mate. I don't know how to make any food. And then obviously in the Northern Quarter, that has a different... And on the internet, that word has a completely different meaning, right? So... yeah, I find that going there, I do my jokes, and sometimes you do them in completely blank faces. I remember specifically doing them at Stage and Radio one time, and I remember going because I had a big gig coming up, like the day or two later, and it was like a big gig for me at the time. I can't remember specifically what it was, but I remember being really eager for it to go well, and I went to Stage and Radio, which is an open mic. Anyone can turn up and get stage time, and it's really good to get there and get practicing. And I went and did my 5 minutes, and like it was barely getting a laugh in the room, and people were looking at me confused, and I was like, this is weird, because this should all go well tomorrow, whenever that good gig was that I had coming up, that it was important to me. And then when I went and did that gig that was important to me, it went really well, and I was like, yeah, it's just a weird thing with the open mic. So this is what I'm trying to say about you need a higher quality of gig as well. It's not just about getting out there as much as possible. I mean, ideally, like what would be great is, be able to just play theatres every night and doing tour support for somebody, because that is tough. Now, that is like kind of the opposite of a pro gig, because what you get in tour support is you get people who've paid more. This is where it's a step up in difficulty. So like, let's say a pro gig, someone pays, let's say 10 quid for a pub in Burnley. Pub in Burnley on a Friday night, it fits 150 people in their function room, or working men's club, let's just call it. So then they can, that's 150 times 10, 1,500. I struggle with the maths there a little bit. 1,500. Now they can put a lot of that towards the budget. They can get really good acts, and then they'll put on someone less experienced in the middle. I'll go there, but that audience have only paid 10 quid each. As an individual, they've only paid 10 quid each. And they've just gone because it's comedy night at their local club, right? Their local working men's club. They're not overly fussed. Obviously, the headliner, the opener, and the MC are going to be way more polished, so they've got a way. They're realistically going to be much better than you. But then you're in the middle, so you've got the easiest slot of the night, and it can kind of sometimes average out a little bit. And even on occasion, because you're in the soft spot in the middle, you can sometimes get the best reaction just because you're in that easier spot. Sometimes you get maybe really drunk by the end, so. The pro opener has a tougher time because they're not warmed up enough. The headliner has a tougher time because they're too drunk, and then you're in the middle and you just got them at the right spot where they're warmed up, they're not over the top tipsy, they're not going to be shouting out, they're not distracted. You can get them at a good time. What am I talking about? Why am I saying all this? I'm kind of forgetting myself. Oh, this is why. It's because then you do that. Then you move up to, let's say, a 20 quid show where you're doing tour support, where everyone in that room has paid 20 quid. And on top of that, the majority of the room have come to see the person who you're supporting. Now, there will be a few people in the room who, one, they just go, like I say, because it is their local venue. So maybe the Octagon in Bolton. The Octagon in Bolton has like a hardcore fan base, a customer base, should I say, of people who just go to shows there because they're there. Now, and then it obviously depends on their own availability as well. So if Janice is free on a Sunday night and she's looking for something to do with Barry, who she's been friends with since school, she'll go, oh, should we look at what's on at the Octagon? And she'll say, oh, it's comedy, should we go check it out? Sometimes you get people like that. Sometimes you get it where it's like husband and wife, husband and husband, wife and wife, whatever, and they go together, and one of them really wants to go and the other one just goes to spend time with their spouse. So the other one isn't really bothered about the headliner specifically. They're just happy to see the full show, or maybe just happy to spend time with their partner and not really bothered about the whole show, but willing to give it a go because they're open-minded and want to be a good sport for their partner. What happens in those environments is, because so many people have only come to see the headliner, they'll literally look at you like, who are you? Like, I've not paid to see you. I don't want to see you. You are wasting my time. This show was supposed to start at 8. I've paid to see Jimmy the Jamboree Boy, And we're waiting now to see Jimmy the Jamboree Boy because we've got to listen to you say your nonsense. And now you have to win them over. Because the whole reason why Jimmy the Jamboree Boy is paying you to open for them is because Jimmy the Jamboree Boy doesn't want to go in cold. But even though they're his audience, Jimmy the Jamboree Boy wants the audience to be warmed up. So you're there to warm them up. You can't just fizzle out and just completely kill off the crowd and then be like, look, this is awful. Like Jimmy the Jamboree Boy, I've been really looking forward to this. I got a babysitter, I fed my dog, took him out for a walk, I brought my husband, made him shower, ironed his shirt, everything. We've come all the way to see Jimmy the Jamboree Boy, and I'm fuming now with this opening guy because I didn't like him. That can be really tough. It can be really tough to win over that crowd. And sometimes, I'll be honest, I don't know how many I've done now, maybe about 15 or so, where I've opened for people. And sometimes you do them and you're like, it went okay, but I just didn't get them. Why didn't I get them tonight? What went wrong? Where did I come a cropper there? And you do ask yourself these questions, and that's part of the skill of becoming a good all-round act who can just smash it everywhere they go. Because some acts, can do that, and some acts can do it from really, really early on. Some absolute naturals can just kill it everywhere they go. But for the rest of us, you have to really work at the craft and really, really get good at it. And the only way you get good at it is doing it as often as possible. Wow, I took so long to explain that very basic concept that if you do things often, you might get good at them. But yeah, that's me and my gigging this week anyway. I spent 16 minutes talking about my gigs this week. People, like I said, I think I mentioned it last time, people have said to me, we love hearing about the stand-up stuff. And I'm not an expert. There'll be people ahead of me in the comedy world who will listen to certain things that I say and be like, that's absolute rubbish. And some of the things I'll say they might agree with, but so, take what I say with a pinch of salt. It's just my own experiences and where I am at the moment in my own level of learning. But eventually, I'll hopefully get to a higher level where even I look back on this and go, that was silly, Adam. Maybe I'll do a reaction video to this in 5 or 10 years' time. And I go, bloody hell, he did not know what he was talking about back then. But yeah, I got quite an interesting month coming up. I've got a weekend away in Hull. I think that's later this month. It's Eid. Next week is Eid. Eid is a very, very... This might be the last time you see... No, I think you might see the beard one more time, but, because I'm going to shave it after Eid. I grew it for winter, then I thought, you know what? If I'm going to keep it, I'll keep it for Eid. And then I'll get rid of it afterwards. And it is starting to warm up a little bit now. Although it was mega windy today, I went and got my hair cut. I filmed a video and I put it on the TT app. You know that one. You know the TT app. I put it on there. I'm doing a video going... I'm getting my hair cut, and this is my what it looks like before, and honestly, it's flying all over the place, Mia. You should see it in that video. But yeah, it was right windy at the moment. I don't know if anyone else is like this as well, but I'm in a weird mood with food. There's nothing at the moment that I really like food-wise, and I know that I'm not a big foodie guy. I did about 4 food reviews about 4 or 5 years ago, and people have said to me afterwards, going like, "Oh, you do food reviews, don't you?" And I'm like, no, I don't do food reviews. I did 4 once upon a time, but I don't really do them. And that was part of the reason why I stopped, was that I'm not a big foodie. So when I'm eating stuff and I think I mentioned this again before, the Muslim side of me is just be glad that you've got food. I remember being hungry as a kid. I've been to the village in Pakistan. You see hungry people, you see poor people, and it does make you feel a little bit like, get a grip, lad. It's food. You just be happy that you've got it. It's healthy enough that you can feed your belly. You've got the fuel to carry on. You can live your life happily. And yeah, not a big foodie, but I'm in this zone at the moment where I'm not really feeling anything. Maybe, I don't know, maybe because it's Ramadan, maybe that's having some kind of an effect on me. I don't really know, but yeah, I'm not really feeling my food at the moment. I think I'm going to try and get into healthy eating. Maybe I should try and do that. I went for a run this week. Oh, let's talk about that actually. I'll talk about healthy eating in a second, but I went for a run this week. Now, I used to be very active. Now I used to play hockey, a game twice a week. I used to train twice a week. Then sometimes I would go for a run of a Sunday morning or maybe a Tuesday night or something. Get the most out of my time, try and be as fit as possible. When I went for this run the other day, first of all, I did 5K. 5K to some people is absolutely nothing, and I get it. It's absolutely nothing. Some people, though, 5k sounds like a lot. Now, let me tell you, this is going to sound corny, and I did a video about this, kind of self-mocking a little bit, but I did a video where I was basically saying that the hardest yards are the ones between the sofa and the front door. That's the hardest yards you're going to do. Once you make that decision, at least with me, once I make that decision that I'm out there and I've stepped out the house and I'm going to run, I'm going to finish it. Now, when I ran this time, there was moments where I had to walk. I couldn't keep up the 5k. I run a very hilly thing, and it's not good for you. You need a more plain one, especially when you're essentially a beginner like me who's not ran in 8-9 months, and even last year I probably only ran about 4 times all year. You need a flat surface, and you maybe need to do a park run or a couch to 5k or something. That's good to get you back into it. Because in my head, I'm 23. In my head, I'm physically fit and I'm active 4 or 5 times a week. And I can go and do this easily in my head, but I can't. In real life, I can't. And that was a struggle for me, is making that run. And then there's a point where I just got to walk it. I've just got to walk. And you plan it in your head. You go, right, I'm going to walk from here till that point there. And as soon as I get to that point, I'm going to start running again. And that's what I've got to always tell myself, that, okay, give yourself this break now. But know that once you get to that point over there, you need to have recovered by then. So in my head, I'm thinking about my recovery. I'm thinking about my breathing. I'm thinking about how my muscles feel. How do my knee joints feel? Does my ribs hurt? Or back? I was getting back pain from running around. That's how old I'm getting now. I never used to get back pain when I ran. But I'm thinking of all these things. But yeah, I did the run. I think I stopped to walk twice, mate. Maybe 3 times, but at least... No. Once... Yeah, 3 times I stopped to walk. 3 times I stopped to walk. One was up a big hill, which is a massive hill, which I thought, no chance. I can't do that now. I'll finish myself right here, right now. I'll be done. I'll be done for good. This will be the last run I ever do if I try and attempt to run this hill. Yeah, and one walk, a second walk, and then that third one I had to, because it was too steep otherwise to get up that. But I felt so much better for getting out and doing it. I do plan on now, hopefully Sunday morning, maybe getting out again. I mean, it's Wednesday as I record this. This is going to be uploaded on Thursday for you. My legs are still sore from Monday night. I'm still feeling in my thighs, me hamstrings, me quad, whatever this muscle is up here on the top of my leg there. You hear me slapping it. It hurt a little bit. I don't know if it came across in my face there. It hurt a little bit when I did that. They hurt me, but obviously if I do it more often, then my legs are going to get stronger and stuff like that. And I encourage everyone out there, whatever your level of fitness is, try and get out and do some exercise, whether it's just doing a bit of a walk, whether it's joining a Sunday league football team. If you're one of the new comedians, there's a comedians 5-a-side league. They'll have anyone. Anyone can go and sign up to that and play it. It's not a very exclusive club. You can literally do one open mic and ask to join it, and they'll probably put you in that group. You can be a pro comedian. Yeah, it doesn't matter what end of the scale you are. In the past, you've had people who just work at comedy clubs come into it, when I used to go and play along with the boys. And that goes to show, again, how poor my fitness is at the moment. I've not even been and played that for years now. But I'll be honest, I stopped going to it. Listen, don't play sport with me. Don't play sport with me. Because I'm a knobhead. I am. I can't help myself. In my head, it's a very binary thing when I play. We're either taking it seriously or we're not taking it seriously. So, pick and just tell me, and I'm happy with that. Invite me to 5-a-side, tell me it's just for a laugh, and I will just have a laugh. I'm not going to take it seriously. I'm not going to... But don't tell me it's just for a laugh and then have someone else start taking it seriously. Especially if the game's close or my team's losing and they're taking it seriously. That winds me up. That I don't know what it is. If my team's losing and you start taking it seriously, it does my head in. It honestly. Oh, and they're complaining about little fouls. I don't mind if it's a big foul, give it 100%. If it's a borderline 50-50 thing and you're winning and we're not supposed to take it seriously, don't complain. Because I will go full Saki mode and I will act like a knobhead. I will take the piss out of you And it won't be a nice, light-hearted humour, because I won't be in a state of mind where I'm laughing around. I'll just say something nasty, and I don't want to do that. That's not what I want to do. I'm an idiot. I keep myself away from these things now. And every time I go and I play any kind of five, in fact, last time I played any kind of five-a-side was the day after the Royal Rumble last year, or even the year before that. And my mate Matt was supposed to be coming, and he didn't come, and like he only told me last minute he weren't going. And it was with a bunch of his mates, and I was like, why am I playing five-a-side with your mates and you're not even turning up here? Anyway, I treated that as just a laugh, and I had a good time, but I thought, I ain't coming back here. Because one of those lads was taking it too seriously, and I caught myself that time. I thought, do you know what? I ain't going to take it seriously. I'm having a laugh. You take it seriously all you want. I ain't coming back. I ain't coming back. Because I take it too seriously. Like, when I used to play hockey, I was a nightmare for it. Yeah, I know, I don't want to really get into it, because I am a knobhead when it comes to it, and I need to stop, and that's why I did stop, and that's why I don't play anymore. Hopefully one day, touch wood, I'll have kids, and I'll be taking my kids to games, and I really hope, for their sake, if not my own, I can control myself on the sideline, and I don't become one of those like show mums where I'm shouting from the sideline, come on Adam Jr., referee, that's a foul, referee, come on, you need to go to Specsavers, mate. The bloody get the coupons out, the Metro, 25% off, you cheapo. That's why you've not gone in it. No. Oh, well, you're right, get them teeth and then your airline sorted out. And he'd be like, can I see your airline under that? I'm like, absolutely not, mate. Don't you be talking about my airline. Oh, yeah. No, not me, that. I need to make sure that that's something that, like I say, touch wood, in the future I'll have children, and like I'll be taking them to sports and encouraging them to do that kind of thing, and as long as they find it fun, and it's to do for health as well. But I see myself being that kind of dad on the sidelines. I do, and I need to get that out me system. Then again, I watch. Yeah, it is. Maybe I don't know. It's something that I probably need to work on in myself. One thing I have thought about, because we're getting towards the end of the hockey season, I thought, should I go back and play one game? Just play one game, get it out of my system, have a little run around. Maybe I should do that, and that'll be a way for me to get exercise and just catch up with the lads. Because they sent me a message about a month ago asking me if I wanted to play, but I couldn't, because they wanted me to go away, first of all. I'm not travelling away, I'm not coming out of retirement to go and travel all the way to Manchester and play and lose. Like, if I'm not taking it seriously, I want to not take it seriously on my own doorstep up there. But it is good. And I highly recommend, if anyone, if you're thinking, if you're not active, anyone, if you're not active and you want to get yourself a bit healthier, like, go and find something to do. The lads at the Pokemon card shop, James, he goes to Muay Thai, and then James, he goes to boxing, so they both go and do something at least. And it's good to kind of like get you out and get you into a routine. And then once you start to get into that routine, you just onwards and upwards and there for your health. Because that's the one thing about your health is we take it for granted. I take it for granted. And me, since lockdown, I've put on, like, I only weigh about 13 stone, but I've put weight on in the wrong places. Like, I used to have a bit more definition and a bit more like musculature on my upper body and my calves and my thighs and stuff like that. But that's all gone. And then there's just a nice little tyre popping up here around the midsection. So that's part of the reason why running's going to be good for me. Like, trim a bit of that off, and then when I'm finished, I'm not overly thinking about what kind of treats I can have or should have. I bought 2 packs of biscuits today from Morrison's. I went into Morrison's looking for a meal deal, grabbed something to eat for myself. Couldn't find the meal deal that I wanted. Then I'm just walking around the shop thinking like, oh, I need to buy something. What am I going to buy here? I went down the biscuit aisle. The kind of biscuits that I like were on sale for $1.75. Foxes with the chocolate on top. Feel free to buy me some if you ever come and see me on tour. Anyway, I went and bought myself 2 packs of them. And as I was doing it, I was like, why have I done this? And then in my head, I was like, because they're on sale. That's exactly why you've done it. Because every time you come here, they're £2, £2.50, something like that. And you don't buy them. This time you've seen them when you don't want them, but they're on sale, so you've ended up buying them, and I don't need to do it. So yeah, I need to rewind that back. But I mean, even after my run, the first thing I did is I went to Tesco, and I went to buy myself some like ice lolly, because I love, after a long run, having an ice lolly, cool yourself down from the inside. But I couldn't see a vegetarian logo on the back, and I thought, oh, has this got some kind of like like, because there's numbers that have got like beetle blood in and stuff like that. That's like not halal technically, and I look at it and I'm like, oh, I can't see the vegetarian sign, so I think this ain't going to be halal for me, so I can't have it. And then I looked in the Mars bar, had the vegetarian logo on it. So I bought 4 Mars ice creams. I had 2 of them. And then about half a bar of like dairy milk, a whole nut chocolate bar, you know, the big massive bars. I had half of that. Oh, and then I only had 2 boiled eggs for tea, because like I left it a little bit late to eat it. Yeah, my diet's no good, but I'm hoping the more that I exercise, the more I can do that. And that's part of the reason why I'm saying it on here, is hold myself responsible a little bit, hold myself accountable. One of the James Mitch, he was saying to me like, oh, have you been for a run yet? You been for a run yet? Well, I've been for a run now, all right, mate. Get off me back. All right. So, yeah, that's me. Oh, do you know what's been good this last couple of weeks I didn't mention last time? Scrubs is back. I love Scrubs, the TV show. For me, it's one of those TV shows that I always forget about, but I've seen every single episode they've ever made, and it's one of the greatest shows of all time. I started watching it in about 2002. I remember I'd skip school, 2002, 3, 4, and around that area. I'd skip school. I'd sit downstairs on our computer at home playing Championship Manager, and then that would be it. And then behind me on the TV would be like whatever shows were on, and Scrubs would be on during the day. I think it was on Sky One or whatever, on the old Sky Digital box, and I used to love it. And then when I got into like college age, I would buy the DVD box set. And then a mate of mine from college, Lee Abbott, who like we used to be really good friends. We kind of lost touch a little bit over the last few years. I think he lives in like Republic of Ireland now, but I think we used to trade the DVDs or talk about it. But either way, I remember we bonded over Scrubs. That was one of the things that we bonded over as young college kids, and then watched it through the years, and then they ended it, and then they tried to come back after the writer's strike and relaunch it. And I think, was it James Franco that was in it, or Dave Franco, or one of them? And it was poor. It was poor. It just wasn't good, and it really fell flat. That was the era where like a lot of the relaunches, like they relaunched Scream and a lot of these other things, when they tried to relaunch them around that time, they just flopped. They didn't really take, because they hadn't figured the formula out for what to do when you're relaunching something. However, with this latest series of Scrubs, they figured the formula out. It's mainly the old characters, and they're slowly introducing the younger characters, and they phased out some of the older ones completely. They're gone. So Dr. Cox has gone, and what was the other higher up guy? He's gone. I mean, he might have passed away, the other guy. And they've introduced these younger ones, and it's that nice blend of, over time, that older cast will probably get thinner and thinner and thinner and appear less and less and less, and that younger cast will appear more and more and more and get more and more prominent storylines, and they should build it out from there. But they've had 3 episodes this far. They're all on Disney Plus, and they've been brilliant. Genuinely, they've been a real blast from the past. A real blast from the past, where you're watching it and you're looking at it and going, "This, like, I've loved this show." One of my favourite episodes of any TV show of all time is the episode of Scrubs. I think it's literally episode 316, 317, something like that. And it's, I can't remember what it's called, but it's the Brendan Fraser episode. I feel like putting it on upstairs right now. That is one of the only shows of any TV show that I will ever put on. Maybe the only show of any TV show that I'll put on in isolation, where I won't watch the rest of them. I'll just go, boom, I want to watch this one episode only, and that's it. Because that episode, it gets me in the feels every time, and like I love showing it to people, and I'm watching them for their reaction. And then sometimes they look at me like, "Adam, you've shown me this in the past," and I'm like, "Oh, you only watched this for my benefit, didn't you?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I was like, I thought I was watching it for your benefit, but it was for my benefit all along. What a big twist. But yeah, Scrubs is back. Love a bit of Scrubs. Another thing I watch on Disney Plus is King of the Hill. When I heard that Disney Plus was coming out, I thought, what are they going to put on there? Like Aladdin and a load of spin-offs and stuff like that. Who's going to want to watch that? Obviously, like parents of young kids, they'll get it. Like put the young kids in. I just got a shiver down my spine then. Put the young kids in front of it and just let them sit there. But me, why would I want to watch it? But then when I got it, and I was like, it's actually pretty sick, this. Anyway, I started watching King of the Hill, and King of the Hill was one of the TV shows that was on when I was a kid in like 97, I think it debuted. And it was one of those where I used to watch it and be like, I think this is funny, but I don't really know why. I don't really get it. And then watching it as an adult, you're like, this is absolutely hilarious. The writing on this is brilliant. The voice actors are class. The animation, brilliant. Like it's just basic, two-dimensional. But I'm really, really enjoying diving back into watching King of the Hill. And that's one of the things that's really good as an adult, is being able to go back and watch stuff that you watched as a kid and have an adult's perspective on it. One thing I do massively with that is wrestling. At the moment, I'm going back and watching 1997. I started back in 1995, and I've been watching this for about 7 years. And I go back every now and then. I'll watch like maybe 3 or 4 shows in the span of 2 days. Then I'll forget about it for 3 months. Then I'll go and do it again. But I'm in 97 at the moment. I'm in about September. In fact, it's 2 weeks after Brian Pillman died. So whenever Brian Pillman died, it's 2 weeks after that. Which, by the way, when that happened, Vince McMahon, the way that he treated Brian Pillman's death, and on air he was like, we think it might have been a drug overdose. Like, don't say that about you wrestlers. This is the thing that everyone talks crap about you for. Like, don't give them ammunition. But they absolutely botched the way that they dealt with that. Then after that, every wrestler death they've dealt with in a much better, much more professional manner. But that first one with Brian Pillman, woof, they did not know what to do. I mean, they only found out like, I think 5 p.m. The show was starting at like 7, 8 p.m. He was due on that show and he was due to have a match and he didn't turn up. And can you imagine the madness of that work? Like, this is a workplace. I'll just talk about it as a workplace. Like, the top staff members, Bret Hart, and he's friends with Brian Pillman. Brian Pillman's not there. They think, oh, he's just with the top staff member, Bret Hart. Bret turns up and they're like, where's Pillman? And he's like, I don't know why. And they're like, oh, we thought he was with you. He's like, nah, I've not seen him since yesterday when we were at the last show. They phone up to the hotel check his room, he's there. Like, that's it, like, gone. 35 years old, professional athlete, former American football player for the Cincinnati Bengals who play in the NFL. Like, mad that can just happen to someone. But yeah, so that's where I'm at the moment. But I watch it now as an adult and I get to have the adult enjoyment, but also the adult thought process of like what happened with Pillman and stuff like that. That's a good one to do that with. South Park, oh my goodness, I've not rewatched South Park for a long time. But South Park is one that I think I need to rewatch from the beginning and enjoy that as an adult, because I love South Park. It's such a brilliant show. So you have to sit down and go back through and watch that. And I've got so many of the DVDs again back from those college and uni days where you had no Netflix. You just had to go out and rent them or buy. And I used to just buy them because I used to watch them over and over again, these things. Yeah, going back and watching South Park, and yeah, that'll be fun, that to go back through it and do it. But the streamers are so good, aren't they? It's so good having the streamers and having access to it. Where you just like I say, you load up Disney Plus and you don't know what to expect. They made X-Men 97. They stopped making the old X-Men in 1996 and was like, do you know what? We're going to reboot it from 97 as if it never finished. But we're going to make it for the people who watched it back then, so it's going to be a bit more adult themed. I need to watch that as well. So I started to watch the original X-Men series. I got a certain amount through and I never finished it. I stumbled and I stalled on it. And I need to go back and watch that, actually. That's one thing I need to watch. X-Men. Do they have Spider-Man on there as well? Like, I'd love to go back and just, chuck on a couple episodes here and there. That's what I need to start doing. Instead of sitting scrolling aimlessly and just, like, trying to find the perfect thing. Boom, just chuck on one of those episodes. Let it play through. Just soak it up and let your enjoyment happen. Yeah, football's been mad at the moment. Oh, there's been some, like... Well, let's talk, again, I like to talk about my interest, but in a broader manner. So let's talk about football from a bit of a different aspect right now. So Arsenal on the weekend, they were the first ever Premier League team in any competition to play 2 kids aged 16 and under. So they played 2 16-year-olds in their team. And it made me think, like, what was I doing when I was 16? Like, I'd finished school. I finished school at 15. I'd done all my GCSEs and failed most of them absolutely miserably. And then I was waiting to start college, basically. So I started when I was 16. And then I look at these kids aged 16 playing professional football for Arsenal. Don't know how much they're getting paid, because I don't think you can get paid a proper contract until you're 17, maybe. I'm not too sure. But to like Marley Salmon, Max Darman, two 16-year-old kids with all that kind of pressure on them. I guess that's the beauty of youth, is you don't realise the pressure that's on you at such a young age. So it kind of wash over you a little bit and allow you to kind of perform at a higher level. And it's more adults when they realise the enormity of the task at hand that they start to wobble a little bit mentally, and they start to think, oh, actually, there's a lot that rides on this, and my life goes this way or that way. And these 16-year-olds, bless them, man, they got out there and they played the game against Mansfield on the weekend. It was a game Arsenal were expected to win, and they did win. And one of them had a good game, and one of them had an okay game, made a reasonable sized mistake. But I look at it and it's interesting, because as a kid, you look at footballers and they're literally like idols to you. They're like heroes to you, people that you look up to, and you think they've got the answers to all the questions. You think that these guys, they're the bee's knees, they know it all. And then I remember being about 16 years old, 15, 16, and Cesc Fabregas being in the Arsenal team. And he's only a year or two older than me. He was like 17 at the time. I remember watching it, thinking to myself, like, oh, there's going to become a time where I'm watching football and some of them are younger than me. And now it's got to the stage where it's almost every single player is younger than me now when I'm watching it. And I think that's why football fans are a bit more critical, because, like, let's say you work a job you're a labourer and you work on site, you're a bricklayer, and you spend all hours of the day working on a building site, and you're tired at the end of it, and your nails break and got mud and calloused hands and cuts and scrapes, and your knees are knackered and your back's done in and all that kind of stuff, and you're 37. And then you're looking and you're watching a bunch of 21-year-olds who you've paid 60 quid to have a t-shirt with their name on the back, and you're having problems with your missus, and it's the same missus you've been with for years, and you feel like you've backed yourself into a corner because now you've been with her for years, and if you were to leave her, well, you're not the same lad you were 15 years ago, little Mike. You're not the same now. You think, well, I can't really just start again now because my options are limited, her options are limited. I feel like I'd let her down as well. And then you see these footballers who are getting paid 200 grand a week, and they're going out on the sesh of a night, and they're doing illicit things with supermodels and multiple supermodels at a time, and then they turn up on a Saturday and you cannot wait to see them play, and you cannot wait to support them and cheer them on, and then they have a poor game and they're being a bit moody with the fans, and you go, wait a second, what right do you have to be moody? Now, I actually feel a bit bad for footballers, because I do think that the level of pressure is massive, and I do actually think that footballers deserve every single penny that they get. Because how many people go and pay to go and see them? How many people sit at home and buy the shirts and buy the scarves and buy the Sky subscriptions and all these things to go and see these star players? They do deserve it, and if they want to live properly, they've got to live a very strict life, like Erling Haaland. You imagine that he doesn't get to do like a lot of the things that maybe you and I can do. He doesn't get to do like a basic thing like just eat a pizza or 2 Mars bars after training like I could do, 2 Mars ice creams. He's got to be disciplined, right? So I do understand all that, but I also understand the other side of the coin, and I think that is where a lot of the upset comes with these professional athletes. Is I think a lot of them don't realise their privileged position, because they receive such enormous amounts of wealth at such a young age that to them they just don't really know any different. And when they were younger, yeah, they might have been poor, but because they were young, they couldn't really contemplate it as much. And now that they're older and they can afford everything, goes to a lot of people's heads, and it would probably go to my head as well. Don't get me wrong, if you paid me when I was 17 years old 200 grand a week, or even 50 grand a week when I was 17, I'd be buying a sports car, I'd be spending all kinds of money on tacky designer clothing that I thought was so fancy and luxurious. But when you look at someone and you go, why are you wearing Gucci and head to toe and everything's all gaudy and weird, but he'd be like, yeah, but it's expensive, isn't it, mate? That's what I would have been thinking at that age, and it would have 100% gone to my head, and I would have been an absolute nightmare for people to try and talk to me. I told you what I'm like at five-a-side when one person takes it seriously. Can you imagine if it was an actual job and I was getting paid big bucks for it? Oh, I'd be an absolute terror. But at the same time, I think I would like all that money. It would make life a little bit more easy, wouldn't it? I'm thinking of making some moves in the comedy world, and I'm thinking of trying a few different things quite soon. Again, some stuff that I can announce soon. I can't really discuss it yet because nothing much has happened. But I mean, I'm in talks for one thing. I've had an offer for another thing, which isn't massive. But the other thing, like the one thing that's not massive, it's something that I think it is going to be set me off on the right direction, give me a bit of a boost where I need it. And then the other thing, actually, quite happy with if that does come through. And like I say, I'm in discussions with someone to sort that out. And if I can get that rolling, then that should open up a lot of doors for me going forward. And it is an interesting thing, and because comedy's a kind of weird thing where you don't know for sure how well you're going to do in it. Like, I'm in a position where I make money from stand-up and I make an amount that I'm happy with making, but at the same time I want to make more so I can make it a full-time living and I don't have to do another job during the day. Like at the moment, I do have another job during the day, and it's not easy because you don't get the freedoms that you would do, for example, if you weren't doing that. So, for example, if I've got a gig in Norwich on a Wednesday and I might be able to pick up one in Ipswich on a Thursday, and then that would cut down my costs in travelling to the other side of the country. I could pick up multiple gigs there. I could work on building contacts in those areas and build an audience in those areas of people who come out to see me and might enjoy me, and they might follow me online and keep up with me that way. But I don't have that ability because if I'm going to go up to Norwich, I need to be back in Bolton because I'm working tomorrow morning, right? I need to be back here. I need to be ready. And I need to be sharp for work as well, because you can't just be dossing off in general life, can you? You've got to be on the ball. So, yeah, getting to that level, I think, will make things a little bit easier and just unlock things slightly for me, which I think would enable me to kind of increase earnings again a little by another fraction. So that's something that's on my mind at the moment, and I'm looking at what can I do to set. I mean, I've got things that separate me from other acts, but how do you get on the radar of the people that it's important to get on the radar of, and how do you convince people, or even make them convince themselves that you're someone worth taking a punt on? That's something that's interesting that I look at. It's funny because as I say that, one thing that's in my mind is when you say that, like, oh, you don't know how far you can go, every now and then someone on social media will comment saying, like, you're a rubbish comedian, like, you're terrible, your jokes are crap, they'll say something along those lines, like, they'll be like, oh, you're a nobody in comedy. They'll say something along those lines, and it's interesting because comedians are probably the most self-aware people, especially in the sense of where they are in their career, than anybody else. Like, I'm very much aware that I am not a full-time stand-up comedian. I'm very much aware that I am not a Peter Kay level where everyone in the country knows me. But people really think they're saying something when they're like, oh, you're a rubbish comedian. Because I'm literally in my head, my thought process isn't, oh yeah, they're right, I am an awful comedian. My thought process is, they've never even seen me do comedy. Like, why would somebody who's never seen me do something trying to tell me that I'm no good at the thing that they are judging me on, having not seen me do it? Like, why would they do that? And then you think, oh, it's because they're really upset with you, or they're really angry with you, or they're really trying to trigger you. And that's why it doesn't affect me whatsoever, because I know that that's literally all they're trying to do. All they're trying to do is they're trying to get you and they're trying to upset you. So whenever anybody says to me, like, you're a rubbish comedian, I'm like, you don't know. Like, you don't know. But what I can do is I can point you in direction of a review of mine if you want. You can have a little read of this review. I've got one pinned on my Instagram. And that's one thing I love doing. Especially, oh my goodness me. Especially if it's someone who's racist. If it's someone who's racist and they're having a go at me saying, you're not British and you're a rubbish comedian, I go, hey, I've got a little write-up from the British Comedy Guide pinned on the top of my Instagram if you want to read it. That shuts them up big time because it's the British Comedy Guide, so it's respected to them straight away because it's got the word British in it. And it puts them in the place in terms of what they believe is a good comedian. Like, listen, what do you know about... And sometimes I say to them, oh, fair enough, just out of curiosity, how much money do you spend going to comedy shows a year? Now, they never answer that question. They never answer it because the answer's always zero. But even if the answer was like 100 quid, I say, well, listen, I'm not too bothered about you as a one individual. You go spend that 100 quid on other acts and you go help them, and that's great. You're putting £100 into the economy. That's brilliant. You go and do that and you go help those comedians that you're spending that money on. and I'll keep doing my thing. And if one day you want to spend money on me, you come and do that. I'll tell you what, I might give you a ticket for free, mate. How about that? You can come for free to one of my shows. I'll sort you one out, maybe. And then I go, nah, not really, mate. You're paying full price. Anyway, that's just that. But it is what it is. I mean, the trolls online, they can be annoying. For the most part, they can be interesting because they're just helping you promote your socials. And I get a lot of trolls from India, being Pakistani, and I would get the most racism and the most Islamophobia from Indians and not anyone else. And I actually like India, but I'm not afraid of riding this fine line between saying something that sounds like I'm mocking India, because that will trigger those people that troll me. Whereas the people who know me, who know that I don't have any problem, not that I don't have any problem, that I would love to go to India. I've been public about this before. I would love to go there. They won't let me in. Simple as that. Because I've got Pakistani heritage, who won't let me in. If one day they change that rule, I'll go. I will go and I'll have a lovely time. Inshallah. If I can go, it will be fantastic. But I like to ride this line. So, for example, I've been putting out these videos where I'm like, Pakistan have got great food, great curry. Italy has got great pizza, and France have got great croissants. What the hell does India have? Now, I'm not saying that India doesn't have anything, but what I am doing is I'm opening up that door for those Indians who troll me to be like, this guy hates India. Oh my God, I'm so fuming at him. And they go straight away, India has curry. And I go, nah, curry's Pakistani, mate. Even though I know curry is Pakistani and Indian, I go, do you know what? This is my way at light-heartedly going back at the trolls. Because listen, they'll say very Islamophobic things. They'll say very racist things against Pakistani people, very xenophobic things about Pakistani people. I don't want to say something against Hinduism, against Sikhs. I don't want to say anything against them. So I will never say, like, for example, people will often say things about cows and stuff like that in my comments, arguing with Indians. And I'll always say, not nice, or don't do that, or no, we don't have that kind of chat around here. I'll always put something to put that person back in their place and say, no, don't do that. Because I don't want to do that. I don't want to match them with that. But what I will do is I'll leave an area of concern for them where they're like, he doesn't think India made curry. And I'm like, in the back of my mind, I'm like, of course I know India made curry. I did want to say Pakistan's got cricket. What the hell does India have? And they're all going, India has cricket. We just won the World Cup this weekend, which they did. But it's just my way. Just give them that little bit of needle back where I don't need to say anything offensive against them. I'll let them find their own offence. Anyway, with that, that's the end of this video. If you made it this far, write the name of whatever that Jimmy Jam guy that I said earlier on, Jimmy Jam the comedy man, whatever I called him earlier on, write that in the comments, that'd be great. But yeah, like, subscribe, follow, share to a friend. You know, I got my haircut today, nice, innit? Thank you, see you later.